is something we all have learned over the years to be true. Being sick for a long time changes people. More than the damage to your body or to your mind, it also changes how other people see you and your name, the way that they picture you. Your body isn't the same that it used to be. The disease takes an enormous toll on your pride, your confidence, and your self-esteem. Today, I don't want to talk about my grandfather, the cancer patient. Today, after battling bone marrow cancer once, going into remission, being treated for a terrible eye disease, and losing his battle ultimately with a different kind of cancer. That is the way that my grandfather is known to many people who have seen him and met with him over the past few years. I want to focus on my grandfather. Mikey to my grandmother, Daddy to my mom, my aunt, and my uncle. Poppy, a loving grandfather to my sister and to my 2 younger cousins. He is the man we are here to lovingly remember and mourn today. Poppy never just focused on how he felt or his own needs. His mind was open, curious, and nimble, focused on solving the problems that lay ahead. In his work as a scientist, researcher, and leader in the industry, he worked to improve the world around him. My Poppy worked in food science, and it was his true passion. I always thought he was so lucky to get to go to work every day and to do something he loved. He created food products when they were needed, like helping create the astronaut food that many of us see in museums and novelty stores. He brought together industry, science, and government to make sure the food we were eating was not only tasty, but safe and good for us. Every time I open a box of Ritz crackers or read an article about FDA meat regulations to prevent the spread of diseases, I always crack a smile because my mom reminds us that that was one of Poppy's projects. The projects always provided my sister and I with a moment to giggle, even in disbelief. When he was consulting with companies on their latest products in the heyday of his career, including peanut butter that came in a metal toothpaste tube and a mystery fruit punch that nobody really knew what was in it, he always brought a case home to make sure his 3 children got to taste it too. They were part of his really difficult scientific research. Every day he loved what he did, and his intellect, vision, and insight made him a beloved colleague and friend to many. His love of life and learning gave him a positive outlook that existed long before he needed it to survive rounds of chemo and radiation. When he sang us to sleep, he sang old popular 50s songs and told us favorite stories that he and Nanny made up just for us, putting us in as characters into our favorite fairy tales. When he had an accident in Bermuda on vacation and returned home with broken ribs and a bruised face, it was the first time that I'd ever seen him in a hospital bed, and it wouldn't be the last. I didn't know what to say or to do, but he smiled at us and said, "Hey, you brought my favorite, circus peanuts." And he had us climb up onto the bed and telling us that he would be okay in no time. I also quickly learned that circus peanuts are gross, and so he had more to enjoy for himself. Our Poppy also loved being a part of our lives, no matter what the circumstances. Right before he was sick the last time, he took me to the mall to see a concert and go shopping. After trying on tons of outfits and narrowing it down to 3 things, I asked for his opinion. Right away, he gave his usual shopping response, the same one he's been using with my mom and aunt since she dragged them to pick out her prom dress in 1979. "Get whatever you want so we can just get out of here." No way was he spending another minute with hundreds of teenagers in a store, but I still felt unconditionally loved and appreciated. Plus, I got 3 new shirts. Poppy was a leader in our family and in our community, but not in a typical brash or loud style that some might think. He didn't care for long speeches or gravitas or insincere remarks. He loved a pun or a joke to bring people together. His quiet encouragement and excellent pointed questions were just as much at home in his classroom at Rutgers University than they were in creating memorable family events for all of us. Usually, he was the leader of our Passover Seder, and every year from his chair at the head of the table, he was a lively, steady presence for all of us, teaching the story of the Exodus in Egypt, involving everyone in reading, singing, and praying together, and he always made sure to invite the stranger, grad students of his from all over the world who had never been to a Seder and who he wanted to teach about Judaism. It was even at the Passover Seder, right in the middle of leading us, that we all learned he had a very dangerous bone marrow cancer that required specialized treatment in Arkansas. He remained optimistic, at least in front of all of us, and trusted in the doctors. He asked us to trust them too, and hoped that by undergoing this treatment, he could help the doctors and scientists learn how to treat this kind of cancer. Let's take a moment now to think about the Dr. Solberg, the Mike, the loving father, grandfather, and friend that we all knew. To take our special moments with him into our hearts. To see him smiling with his eyes and hear his warm voice. Even though he is no longer alive, he is still with us. When you hear about the latest scientific discoveries, or you can imagine what he might say and the questions he would offer to you. When you're trying to make a decision, hear him telling you to just pick one and get it over with. When Passover comes around next year, see him laugh as his granddaughters put a fake matzah on the plate and he pretends not to notice, not the empty chair. May Mike Solberg, the man, the name, and the amazing individual be a blessing for all of us.